Blast me to Calamus Skull. It's time for the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. Issue 74, Part 2. Gallery and Battle Report. Hello everyone and welcome back to the Mad Merlins Warhammer 40,000 Imperium Journey. So we're back with issue 74, and here we have our built and painted Firestrike servo turret for the Ultramarines. Really cool kit. Hasn't been on my radar to pick up anytime soon, but it's coming with a magazine, and I found it a really nice little model to build and paint. So yeah, we got the Tech Marine. I've painted him using... I think I followed the magazine for painting the Tech Marine, which was done with Mephiston Red and a non-oil wash. I've painted it, and I even put a few transfers on, so he's got a chapter symbol there on his left shoulder pad. And I've got a few symbols on the front of the turret there. So I've got a heavy support symbol. I've got, I believe, a bit of text scroll work, a Ultramarine U, and the markings of third company there, which was done using a second company transfer, which I just painted over with some red and put a number 3 there. Finish this guy off with my custom snow texture base, which I'm doing for all the models in the magazine. And I've given him a nice varnish as well. So I've protected the paint there. Right then, let's take a look inside issue 74 and what's left. And then I'll go through the 2 armies I'll be using in this video's battle report. Here we are back with issue 74, and before we get into it, don't forget to, of course, like this video if you are enjoying the content. Why not also subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, as it's the only way you'll be kept up to date with all my mad content. Also, there are my social media links and my Patreon and affiliate links in the description below this video, so be sure to check those out. Right then, moving on, we've got the remaining part of issue 74. Let's just slightly adjust the camera, and we'll take a look inside. All we have left to look at then is the data sheets for the Firestrike servo turret. So this is a far forward emplacement for the Space Marines. You can have up to 3 in a unit, so pretty deadly if you can get your hands on more than one of these. It has a movement of 3 as it's only got the grav plates on its feet as movement, so it doesn't move that very far, but it can easily be re-angled if you need to get a better line of sight on the enemy. Has a weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 2 for the Tech Marine Gunner, strength 4, toughness 5 for if it gets into combat, 5 wounds, 2 attacks, leadership 8, and a 2+ save. Really heavy forward emplacement unit. So it's 6 power for 1, 12 for 2, and 18 for 3. It comes as standard with the Las Talons, which are a heavy 4, 24-inch range, strength 9, -3 d6 damage gun. Or you can, if you want to, swap them out for the accelerator autocannons. Very much the same guns that our suppressors have. And it's a strength 7, -1, 2 damage. So a pretty good anti-infantry gun. So yeah, make your choices. You can, of course, if you want, leave them unglued, so you can easily just pull them out. Although I did try to do that, but the pegs for some reason were a bit on the fragile side and snapped off, forcing me to pretty much glue them in. I didn't have any magnets small enough, sadly, to magnetize it, otherwise I would have easily done that. On the back we do have a tutorial, so think about your fire arcs when you deploy this. It can only move 3 inches, so you might want to deploy it as close to an objective marker as you can, and also in a position where it covers a second objective marker with its guns. It is a vehicle, so as such it can't interact with buildings, and also thanks to its minimal 3-inch move, it can't be put on any of the upper levels or even go over the Munitorum armored containers. So yeah, really think about having this in a opened up area so you can sit back and gun. I do like that they've shown here 5 containers. So it does show that you can, if you want to, use more terrain than the magazine is supplying, I'm guessing. Yeah, pretty cool little unit, and we can't wait to see how it does. It might just be the saving grace for our army. So then, issue 74's mission is the Legion's Rise. So this is pretty much a flip around of 71 or 72's mission, where the Necrons were caught off guard. In this case, the Imperium are caught off guard. So both sides only have a 6-inch deployment zone. The Imperium player must deploy half its units in strategic reserve, but you don't have to pay command points in order to do so. What I'm doing then for this particular mission is I'm following on from the last issue. I'm using most of the same units from the last issue, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my main force deployed on the defense on the player A edge here, which is the Imperium's edge. And yeah, I'm going to have it so that the units that I did use in the previous battle are going to be retreating back towards the front line, being held by Calgar. And then the Necrons do have a nice long deployment zone. Just hope I can fit all my units into that 6-inch deployment area. And we're fighting over 5 objectives this time, and 75 powers worth of models to go. So I'll bring those in a minute, but let's take a quick look at the future. So 75 is our second reactor. We learn about the Demons of Nurgle, and we also have some alternate colour schemes for reactors. I am not too sure what I'm going to do for my reactors at the moment. I think I might just build it and paint it to match the one I already have done. And then in issue 76 we have our Invader ATV. We continue our Demons information, this time with Zinch. We have the ATV's datasheet, build and paint guides for it. Right then, let's bring in the armies. I'll start with the Necrons, seeing as it is exactly the same as last week's. Yeah, it's exactly the same army as last week. Leading it, then we have our Overlord here. He's bodyguard of 5 Lich Guard, an extra unit of 5 Lich Guard with the war size. We have the Scorpek Lord, the Chronomancer, the Royal Warden, 3 Scorpek Destroyers with a Plasma Sight, a Destroyer Locust Heavy Destroyer, if I can get the name right, a Knopdeck Reanimator, 10 Warriors with Reapers, 10 Warriors with Flayers, 5 Flayed Ones, and 10 Immortals. So, yeah, pretty much, like I said, it's the same army as last week. It proved pretty well, and I think I'll be using this army for many of my future games. Though I may change up a little. I do plan on running 6 Destroyers again, and also 2 Locust Destroyers. So if we've got like a mission where it's a very frontal assault sort of thing, I'm definitely going to be bringing the Destroyers and more combat units. But as we are limited on troops, I am going to have to keep using the same warriors and immortals. I could easily cut 5 immortals out and just have the 3 units. I may even actually bring in an extra 10 warriors if I wanted to, and have 2 units of 10 with the Reapers and 1 big unit of 20 with the Flayers, as I got plenty of them spare. So yeah, pretty cool army. It is literally just going to be chop the Space Marines to pieces while also holding as many objectives as possible. Right then, let's take a look at the Imperium army. Okay then, here we have my Imperium detachment. So it's, yeah, a single 50 plus power detachment, 75 power. Leading the force then we have the big man Calgar himself. He's backed up with a captain, lieutenant and Victrix guard. We also have a Canoness leading a detachment of Battle Sisters with a Repentia Mistress, Repentia and Seraphim. Filling out the troops, we've got 2 squads of Intercessors, 1 at 10, 1 at 5. Then we have some elites in the form of an Aggressor Squad, Fast Attack Outriders, and finally the Firestrike Servo Turret. Thinking of the deployment, so I've got to deploy half my units in reserve, so I'm thinking I'm going to deploy Aggressors, Firestrike Servo Turret, Calgar, the Victrix Guard, the Lieutenant, and the 5 Assault Intercessors. Then Sky Strike, the Seraphim, have the Captain, Canoness, Repentia, Mistress, Battle Sisters, and the 10 coming in from Strategic Reserve. Yeah, I might have to think about what I'm going to actually do nearer the time to deploying. But I've got an odd amount of units. I've got 13, I believe. I've got Calgar 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Ah, okay, I miscounted. Sweet, so I've actually got a even amount of units. So yeah, I can deploy 7 and have 7 in Strategic Reserve. Or 6 in Strategic Reserve and Sky Strike the Seraphim. Seeing as it is an objective mission, I'm going to be putting a lot of my faster units in reserve, I think. So probably keep the Outriders off. 1 squad of Intercessors and have them come on from one of the other board edges onto the objectives. And perhaps do a bit of a rear strike on the vanguard of the Necron force. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Calgar is going to be my warlord, of course. And yeah, I'm going to keep off most of the Battle Sister stuff and have them doing a fighting retreat from the previous mission, which the Imperium lost. There wasn't a lot left, but I think we had the Seraphim, the Battle Sisters, the Repentia, Mistress, the Canoness was still alive. I still had the 10 Assault Intercessors, the Aggressors, they didn't get around to doing much. 1 Victrix Guard was alive, and the Captain and Lieutenant was alive. But yeah, it's going to be a fun, close game. Going to try and keep relatively to my own end of the board, try and keep away from the Necrons as much as possible until my reinforcements arrive. But it's going to be a hopefully better game than the last one. Right then, I'm going to go set up and I will see you shortly. And here we are all deployed and ready to play through mission 74. So let's start with the Necrons, as there's quite a lot to go through. So up in the very top corner we've got the Scorpex of Plasmacite, Scorpec Lord, Locust Heavy Destroyer and the Chronomancer. Then down here pretty much the rest of my force, so Squad of Warriors, Immortals, Royal Warden behind, Reanimator, Warriors, 2 squads of Lich Guard and then the Overlord behind. For the Imperium, I've deployed only a few units as I've had to split the force in half. So including what I've put in Sky Strike, which is the Seraphim, I've also got the 5 Assault Intercessors, Calgar, the Victrix Guard, the Fire Strike Turret, Battle Sister Squad, and the Outriders. So yeah. The terrain's a little bit of a reverse of last time, where I had more of an open gap in the middle. This has got more of a building centre over the centre of the battlefield, with the objectives at the 5 points located on the map. Alright then. Ready, I think, for some dramatic reading, and then we'll get into turn 1. The legions rise. The Necron leadership has decided that now is the time to act. With Imperial forces split and depleted, the Overlord has ordered a Necron advance on multiple fronts. Imperial forces now find their lines under assault in dozens of locations. Defenders scurry hastily to trenches and prepared fortifications. They must hold back the Necron push until more reinforcements can be summoned to the front lines. The Necrons resurgent. The Overlord's commands ripple across the Necron front line, and the phalanxes stir in response. Flashes of light illuminate the front line as the Necron elite appear via dimensional translocation and begin advancing relentlessly towards the Imperial defenders. The humans must be destroyed. Makeshift defense. The Necrons' sudden charge of gear to aggressor has taken the Imperial defenders by surprise. With commanders unable to divert reinforcements across their lines, small pockets of Space Marines, Adeptus Sororitas, and Adeptus Mechanicus defenders find themselves facing off against overwhelming numbers of foes. So there we have it. As the mission dictates, I have put half my units of Space Marines in reserve. So I've got the 10 Intercessors, the Aggressors, the Captain, Lieutenant, the Canoness, the Repentia Mistress, and the Repentia. So we score points for controlling the objectives. 1 or more for 5 points, 2 or more for 5 points, and more than the opponent. We get another 5 points for a total of 15. Can't be scored in the first battle round, but there's not many units in control of objectives anyway. Right then, all what's left is to roll off for first turn. Necrons score 5 against the Space Marines 3, and I think they will take the first turn to try and close in on the opponents. So, speaking of first turn, the protocol active for first turn is Sudden Storm, so we're going to get some extra movement to get us closer to those Imperials. Space Marines, we are in the Devastator Doctrine, so heavy and grenade weapons score improved AP. And as I haven't got much in the way of Battle Sisters, I've gone for Divine Guidance, so we can get a little bit better with shooting. Miracle Dice is a 2. And here we go with Necron, turn 1. With the end of the Necron's movement phase, our forces have just pretty much moved up. Starting up with the Destroyers then, not a lot of them got high rolls, but they've all managed to at least move 10 inches up the board. And Warriors and Immortals moved 9 and 10. Warriors here moved 11. Lich Guard moved, they were fine just moving a basic 8. He moved basic 8. Royal Warden only managed a run move of 8. Overlord and the Lich Guard here moved up pretty far. With that then done, it's now on to Imperium turn 1, and we'll see just how well the defenders can defend. End of Imperium movement phase. The Assault Intercessors, Calgar, and the Victor's Guard all advanced. The Fire Strike is sitting still as it's got pretty good range anyway and can see at least the Warriors and part of the Immortals. Battle Sisters ran up to the pipes and the Outriders drove up a little bit. They want to keep the distance from the Lich Guard, but they want to get their guns in range. So moving on to Space Marines shooting phase is just a Fire Strike, Servo Turret and the Outriders. So I'll be back just after this. And with that, the Imperium turn 1 is over. The Accelerator autocannons took out 2 Immortals, thanks to Devastator Doctrine. And the Outriders actually did pretty good and took out 2 Lich Guard, who didn't do too well on their saves. So, way to go them. Even 2 wounds apiece. Luckily they had 2 wounds apiece, otherwise it would have been 4 dead. But yeah, moving on then, it'll be time for Necrons turn 2. So for Protocol, we're going into Conquering Tyrant, so some extra range on all the aura abilities. So Space Marines are moving over to Tactical Doctrine. I know we can officially stay in Devastator Doctrine if we choose to, but rules in Imperium say we have to automatically move to Tactical Doctrine. Miracle dice for our Battle Sisters is a 4. And here we go with turn 2. End of the Necrons movement phase then. Lich Guard are trying to keep away from the Outriders, but they've only moved their basic movement, so they haven't exactly got themselves to any safe position. The other Lich Guard have moved up to bodyguard the Overlord, while the Warriors here are staying on the objective. The Immortals moved into the building, ready to gun down anything that comes in range. Those Warriors have moved to the pipe. Oh, I haven't moved the Royal Warden, who's just going to move 6 to the edge of the building. Reanimator's moved down here to help buff this side of the force. Chronomancer and the Scorpex are slowly moving towards the Imperium side. We have abandoned that objective, but we did score its points before in the command phase. And now we're moving on to Necron shooting phase. Okay, that's it for the Necron's turn. Shooting was literally just the Scorpec, not Scorpec, a Locust Destroyer, shot at the Assault Intercessors, getting a single wound. He didn't shoot too well for his hit roll, sadly. Even with 2 1s re-rolling thanks to Eternal Hatred, he still didn't get much in the way of damage output from that. Right, on to the Imperium, and we can bring in our reinforcements finally. So, I've got to decide where I'm going to bring them in. End of the Imperium movement phase then. The Outriders here have advanced up, ready to shoot and charge the Lich Guard there. Captain, Lieutenant and the Assault Intercessors have come on from Strategic Reserve, keeping 9 inch away from the Lich Guard there, and wholly within 6 of the edge. Canoness has come on over at the back corner there, so she's in aura range at least of the Battle Sister squad. Calgar and Victor's Guard both advanced up. Calgar 8, Victor's Guard 10, moving to get towards that central objective. Battle Sisters, half the squad is able to hop over the pipe. And then the Assault Intercessors have just bunkered down on the objective over there. Moving on then, it's time for Imperium's shooting phase. End of the Imperium shooting phase, and we've done pretty well. We did kill 2 Lich Guard, but one was able to reanimate. And we have wounded one of these Lich Guard over here. The autocannons killed 2 warriors over there who didn't get a chance to reanimate, sadly. And that is pretty much it. So, moving on then, we got our charge phase. So we have the Outriders going at the Lich Guard. And that will be about it, because nothing else is actually in range of a charged target. Although these guys could charge them, but I don't think they need to. End of the Imperium's fight phase then, and I was lucky enough to get the captain in as well, thanks to some careful positioning of the Outriders. The Outriders rolled, I believe it was 11, but they got more than enough needed to get into the fight anyway. And the captain rolled a 10, which is his minimum he needed to get into the fight. Thanks to some lucky rolling though, and the counter-offensive, the fight has gone slightly in favour of the Necrons. So we have a morale test to do for the Outriders. They can't really fail, they've lost 2, and their leadership is 8. So, yeah, they can't really fail. So, it's then on to Necron's turn, and sadly the Space Marine Captain is now in a position that he can get charged by the Lich Guard. He may have been a little bit too enthusiastic yet in the fight. So, here we go with turn 3. Morale test just because I've got to do it. 5 plus 2 is 7, they're fine. So Necrons are going over to Vengeful Stars for the extra AP on 6s. Space Marines will... yeah, I think we will move into the Assault Doctrine, as most of our weapons are going to benefit from it as we're close range orientated. And here we go then with Necron's turn 3. Movement phase was short and sweet. The warriors have moved up to control objective 2. The other warriors are in range to still control objective 3. The immortals are in a position to just stay where they're 2 and shoot at the assault intercessors. And the Lich Guard have moved up ready to charge the captain and the remaining outrider. Scorpex have broke cover from the side of the building and are going to charge down onto Calgar's position. So, moving on then, we have the Necron shooting phase. End of the Necron shooting phase, and it wasn't the best. We killed one and wounded a second assault intercessor, thanks to the immortals. And that was literally it. The enigmatic destructor was able to be shrugged off. So it's on to Necron's charging phase, and there's only the one charge which is going to happen, and that's this one here. Okay, that was an impressive fight phase. Yeah, there's a donut there where the captain used to be in the jammy center, but now it's a ring donut. The Lich Guard got loads of hits through. I think I got about 9-10 hits through, and the captain tanked all but one of them on his 4-up invuln, but he couldn't save the Void Scythe, and he failed even with rerolls. He was slashed to pieces for 9 damage. So it's just a poor outrider on his own now, but the assault intercessors can come in and hopefully give a little bit of a bonus. No +1 for the hitting, thanks to the captain, but I do have the bonus of the lieutenant, so wounding will be a little easier. So, speaking of that, it's now time for Imperium turn 3. Okay, end of the Imperium movement phase. The assault intercessors and lieutenant have moved up, ready to charge the big unit here. The outrider fell back using the hit and run warfare, so he's able to shoot at least. The Seraphim have also come in to help control that central objective. And they did get a free round of shooting and killed a single immortal that they could see. The one that they removed, let's wait, reanimate. He does. So he'll actually reanimate back in the building, so there's now nobody they can actually see with their guns. And yeah, everything else is pretty much staying where it's 2 or just slightly moving up. The Victrix Guard are keeping tactically out of the way of those Scorpex, who are dangerously close to getting a charge next turn. So now, Imperium shooting phase, and there's going to be a lot of guns at the OK Corral here. Pretty miraculous shooting phase. The servo turret only had the Scorpex as a valid target, and he blew 2 of them away and left the remaining one on 2 wounds. So many 1s, 2s, and 3s, it was not going on the Scorpex. It was not the Scorpex day. Other shooting, I did manage to kill 1 Lich Guard who failed to reanimate, but the unit is now going to have to hopefully reposition in the charge phase, otherwise they will run the risk of losing 2 guys in the unit coherency step at the morale phase at the end of the turn. But we still have a fight phase to go, and we got 2 charges here, and that's about it. End of the Space Imperium's turn 3, and it went okay-ish, question mark. I managed to kill 2 Lich Guard with the Assault Intercessors, didn't get anything with the Lieutenant there. 1 did reanimate, so I brought him back closer to the unit, and the Overlord killed 2 Assault Intercessors. Initially, they failed their morale test, but a command reroll put them at a 1-point success. We are half strength exactly, so it's not too bad at least. Yeah, that's pretty much it for this turn. Next up, Necrons turn 4. And they can finally bring in the flayed ones, I think. And the Scorpec, what's left, is probably going to try and get into some combat, or else he's going to just sit and die horribly. So, right, moving on then with Necron at turn 4. Right, starting off Necron turn 4. We're going from Vengeful Stars into Undying Legions. So I think I will take the rerolls on reanimation tests. My brain went dead then. And that's pretty much all we've got to cover at the moment. So roll over the dice to turn 4. And here we go with Necron's movement phase. End of the movement phase. The warriors on objective 2 over at the back there have stayed where they're 2, and I've just realised I haven't moved the Scorpex. I'll do that in a minute. Immortals have broke cover, and the flayed ones have come in over there. So, not a lot of movement, but it's moving on to the Necron's shooting phase, where I'm going to start dropping a few shots into some of the Space Marine units. End of Necron shooting phase then, and the Outrider Sergeant got blasted off the board by the Immortals. The Gor's Flayer Warriors and the Royal Warden shot at the Seraphim, losing 3 of them. And the Scorpec Destroyer, he called him a Scorpec, he's a Locust. Locust Destroyer killed and wounded a squad member of the Assault Intercessors over there. Moving on now then to the Necron's charge phase for turn 4. We're going to have quite a few fights, I think, going here. End of the fight phase, and it is not gone too badly. The Victrix Guard dispatched the last Scorpec Destroyer quite swiftly. The Immortals are locked in combat with that remaining Seraphim Superior, who, thanks to Moment of Grace, managed to save all 4 of her free up armor saves. The I put 3 saves on the regular Seraphim. She passed 2, but lost her final. Then yeah, the poor Assault Intercessors down here have took a beating. They've lost 3 this turn, but they did manage to fight off some of the Lich Guard. Lieutenant dispatched the remaining Lich Guard from the 2nd unit, but the Overlord has done the most damage here. So they need a morale test, but first I am going to drop a command point for, where's it gone? Honour the Chapter. 2 command points actually for Honour the Chapter. Use a stratagem at the end of the fight phase. Select the Assault Intercessor squad from your army. It can fight again. So those last 2 guys are going to get one last ditch attempt. And then we'll move on to the Imperium's turn. Okay, end of Space Marines movement phase for turn 4. The aggressors have come on down here. The Repentia and Mistress have just come on over there on the deployment edge. The Seraphim Superior has fallen back from the central objective, and Calgar and his Victrix Guard have moved up ready to take it. So all what's left to do then is go to our shooting phase. End of Imperium shooting phase, and we have a slightly more damaged Immortals unit. We've now killed 6 left, so we've killed 4 in total. The flayed ones are gone totally. And we've managed to do somehow 4 wounds to the Overlord, mostly from Flamestorm Gauntlets and the Neo Volkite pistol. But yeah, that's it. So all we're going to do now is our charge phase, and it's going to be hopefully the aggressors into the remaining Lich Guard. Lieutenant will try and revenge his captain, and then Calgar and the Victrix Guard are going to hopefully go for those Immortals, though the dead ones have now put a bit more of a distance between us. And we're down to the final round, and yeah, it is up to, there's a 5-point difference, so we need to really make it count for this final turn. So, I had to do a little bit of remeasuring, and I had the aggressors in the wrong place. They were 3 inches too far forward, so I've had to push them back, and that meant they were out of range of the Overlord. So he's only took the 1 wound from the Lieutenant, who charged him, and he's still alive. The fight, the Lieutenant actually tanked 3 invulnerable saves from the scythe, so he was pretty lucky. Calgar did amazing. It's just the Immortals did even better. I don't think I rolled so many 5s or 6s for reanimations, and I rolled them all at once as well, because I didn't expect any to come back, but lost 5 guys, and 5 guys reanimated. In the end, the Victrix Guard just killed off another 2 who failed to reanimate. But man, Calgar could have nearly wiped out the entire unit on his own. So yeah, that's it for Space Marines turn 4. And like I said, it's time for the final fight. We need to try and really score some points and defeat some Necrons. So here we go then with turn 5. 5th and final turn then. So for the Necrons, we're going into Protocol of the Hungry Void. And we'll go with the extra AP for melee attacks on 6s. Space Marines are still in the Assault Doctrine, and the Battle Sisters still have Divine Guidance. So we've got our final Miracle Dice, which is another 2. And here we go then with turn the final. Okay, ended the Necron movement phase, and not a lot has happened. It's literally just the Chronomancer, Skullcrack Lord, and a Plasmacyte moving down the battlefield. I was planning on adaptive strategying the Immortals, but that would have meant I had to sacrifice the central objective. And I kind of needed that to score big. Although I had a 5-point lead, I now have a 15-point lead because I decided to keep the Immortals where they're 2. And there's 2 against the Calgar, 1 for controlling that objective. So it is going to be a Necron victory unless the Overlord fails his reactivation programming, and the Imperium score 6, in which case they will score. Hopefully, in the Necron's turn, Calgar and his Victrix Guard will defeat some of those Immortals, meaning they will score 5, 10, 15, and then 6, giving them 21, putting them up to 46. So that is, like I said, it does rely on him dying and not coming back. So here we go then with the Necrons shooting phase, and well, actually there isn't much of a shooting phase. I think it'll be the Destroyer at the Lone Seraphim just to get rid of her. And the fight didn't go as well as I'd hoped. So yeah, it is going to be a Necron victory unless those aggressors can pound the crap out of the Overlord. And there's a chance to get Calgar in as well, I suppose. I might just whiz through the Space Marine turn just to see if I can achieve a victory, but it's probably going to be a Necron victory. If it is, I will be back. If not, I would like to thank you all for watching. If you've enjoyed this video, please give a like, and if you think you are interested in continuing to support the channel, don't forget to subscribe, and there's also the links in the description, including my Patreon. So, thank you again for watching, and I will see you next time on the Imperium Journey. Goodbye. Surprise, surprise, I am back. Yeah, I can't command reroll as it specifically states hits or weapons rolls or saving throws. So I can't reroll a resurrection. So yeah, that too means he does not come back, and I get the 6 points for Slay the Warlord, putting me 46 to 45, making it now an Imperium victory. So as an added bonus, I want to cover this little guy. So I've never been the biggest fan of it, but it has grown on me. It chucks out an amazing amount of shots. It's got good range. AP and damage isn't the best, but as it's a pretty versatile unit, you can equip it with either the Las Talons or the autocannons. It can be pretty devastating, especially with those Las Talons. It could do a lot of damage to heavy armored vehicles. I mean, I know it is only 24 inches, but you could hold it. You could have a unit of 3, 2 with the autocannons and 1 with the las cannons, so that way you've got 2 guys hitting your opponent for range, and then the las cannon dude can sit back and wait for his big stuff to come at him. If anything, you could use it as an area denial unit, putting it near an objective. Potent weapons, the opponent's not going to come near them with much. So yeah, really surprised this guy has proved pretty well. The only time he didn't do well was the last turn. He tried shooting the Royal Warden, who's still hiding behind the ruins there. He hit 3 times, but failed to wound. So that's, like I said, that's the worst he's done all game. Every other time he has hit 5 out of 6 times with his shots. I mean, Blizzard skill 2+, thanks to the Tech Marine Gunner. And strength 7, so he's wounding most Necrons on 3s, at least. It's only the bigger stuff like the Triarch Stalker that he might struggle to wound, but yeah, he has done amazingly well. Definitely thinking I might try and pick up another couple of these guys for future projects. But there we have it. That was the battle report for Imperium issue 74, and I can finally get on with building my last terrain piece for issue 75, and we can start getting towards the end game, as shortly I will be getting my next delivery. So thank you again for watching, and of course don't forget there's all the links and stuff in the description down below, and I will see you next time for more mad content. Goodbye.